So today we are going to be solving square root equations. Step one is to isolate the square root symbol. So step one, please write isolate the square root symbol. So let's go ahead and do step one on this example problem. My goal is to get this square root symbol by itself. Right now, it's not by itself. They subtracted a 2, and they also multiplied by a 3. We want to get rid of those things, okay? Now, I see this mistake often. Are you guys familiar with order of operations, PEMDAS? Where P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You have to go backwards whenever you're solving something. Okay? So what comes first? Addition and subtraction. Okay? So what should I do first? Yes, the first step would be to add 2. It would be incorrect to divide by 3. Okay? You need to add 2 first. So everyone go ahead and do that. Let's write down what we have left over. We have left 3 square root x plus 1 equals 7 plus 2, 9. Okay. We're not quite done isolating. We need to get rid of that 3. Now that 3 is being multiplied. So how do I get rid of it? Exactly. So guys, let's go ahead and divide both sides by 3. And let's see what we have left over now. We have the square root of x plus 1 equals 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, so we have finally finished step 1. Step 1 was isolate the square root symbol. The square root symbol is now by itself. Okay? Now let's go ahead and move on to step 2. Step 2, we are going to square both sides of the equal sign. And what that looks like is I'm going to square this side and square this side. The reason why we do this is because a square root cancels out with the squared. And we got rid of the square root symbol. Now let's see what we have left. The square root symbol is now gone. I have x plus 1 equals, what is 3 squared? 9. Okay, so that was step 2, square both sides. Now, step 3 is just solve. So let's solve this little one-step equation. What do I do? Subtract 1, you get x is 8. And the last step, once you solve, is to check your work. So guys, how do you think we're going to check our work? Yep, plug it back in. So guys, I'm going to plug it back in on the next page here. We said that the answer is 8. We said that x is 8. So if I were to check that, what was the original problem? 3x plus 1. Thank you. So this was the original problem. We said that the answer was x equals 8. So let's plug that in to see if it actually works. I'm going to plug in an 8. Guys, what's 8 plus 1? 9. Okay, so I can replace this with a 9. And what is the square root of 9? 3. The square root of 9 is 3. So let's just get rid of all of that and put 3. And what's 3 times 3? 9. 3 times 3 is 9. And what's 9 minus 2? Oh, that's true. So when we plugged in 8, it worked. Okay? So that's how you check your answers. Yep, inside to out. Yep, exactly. All right. Now, one important fact that we need to write, this is on your paper. If a square root symbol equals a negative number, then there is no solution. Please write that in the blank. If the square root symbol equals a negative number, stop there. The answer is no solution. Okay, so let's look at an example like that. Okay, so let's do this example. The first step, what did you guys write for step number 1? Isolate the square root symbol. Perfect. So this is not isolated. There is a 4 and a plus sign right here. It's not by itself. How do I get rid of this 4? Yes, the answer is to subtract 4. I see a lot of people make the mistake. Please don't copy this down. I just want to show you a mistake that people do. A lot of people will do this. They'll divide by 4. Why is that wrong? Are these two things being multiplied? Are these two things being multiplied? No, that means you don't divide to get rid of it, okay? Those two things are being added together. All right, so the correct thing to do here is to subtract 4. Get rid of that, subtract 4. What's 2 minus 4? Good, so this will be -2 equals, and what's left over is square root x divided by 3. Now guys, what did we just write down? Didn't we just write if a square root symbol equals a negative number, it's no solution? Okay, well, we have a square root symbol equaling a negative number. So you just stop here and write no solution. Okay. So that's the answer for that example. Now let's just pretend, because I know some of you guys are curious, well, how would I solve it if I wanted to keep going? Let's pretend that we don't get a negative. Let's just pretend that it was a +2. What would your next step be? Yep, you would square both sides. So the square root cancels out with the squared. We're going to be left with 2 squared is 4, and you have x divided by 3. This is x divided by 3. What's the opposite of dividing by 3? Multiplying by 3. So you just multiply both sides by 3, and that's your answer, 12. Okay? So if you kept going, that's how you would solve it. Okay? However, because our answer, we had a negative over here, just stop right there and put no solution. Okay? Let's move on to a different example. This is another one. How about we move this to the other side? When you move that to the other side, what happens? Yep, the sign will change. It will be like this. It's no longer negative. It's now positive. Okay? And we still have this on the left-hand side. Square root of 2x plus 1. Okay. So guys, is this square root symbol by itself on this side? It's by itself. Is this square root symbol by itself? Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and square both sides. Square it, square it. And look what happens. The square root symbol cancels out with the squared. Square root cancels out with the squared. So you are left with 2x plus 1 equals 3x. And now you just solve. This is algebra 1 from here. We can subtract 2x from both sides. You get 1 equals x. That's it. Make sure you check your answer. So if you wanted to check your answer, just plug it back in. Okay, so this was the original problem. We're going to plug in a 1 to check the answer. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So this is square root of 3 minus 3 times 1 is 3. Is that true? Is the square root of 3 minus the square root of 3 0? Yes? Perfect. Okay, so this is true. That means this is your answer. Last example. We're going to go ahead and square both sides. It's already isolated, so we can just square both sides. The square root symbol cancels out with the squared. So I am left with 6x minus 8 equals x squared. Now, since I have a squared, we're going to have to do an eye chart. We're going to have to factor. This is a factoring problem. Okay, so we got to get everything on one side. I like my x squared to be positive. So I'm going to move the 6x over to this side, and I'll make it a minus 6x. And I'm also going to move the negative 8 to the other side and make it a positive 8. So now everything is on the same side. Now let's begin. I want two numbers that multiply to give me 8, but combine to give me negative 6. Yes, I heard the answer. If it's difficult for you to figure these out, just start with 1. 1 times 8 is 8. Negative 1 times negative 8 is also 8. The next number is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 2 times negative 4 is 8. Now, which one of these pairs will combine to give you negative 6? Yep, the last one. So those are your factors. So we're going to put these in our parentheses, x minus 2 and x minus 4. Okay, now we solve. X minus 2 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. And then you just solve. So you add 2, x is 2. Add 4, x is 4. It's basically the opposite of what's here. All right, so those are your two answers. So if you want to check, I'm just going to check one of them with you and you can check the other one on your own. I'm going to write this down again. Okay, so I'm going to plug in a 2. Okay, 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 minus 8 is 4. Is the square root of 4 2? Yep, that's true. So that means this is a good answer. And then you can plug it in, plug the 4 in to make sure it's a good answer or not. All right,